What really is faith? Is it one big, dramatic moment? Or is it something quieter, a lifetime of steady trust? We love to talk about the giants of faith, the ones who did spectacular things. But what if one of the most powerful stories of faith isn't about the grand gestures at all? What if it's about the quiet, overlooked journey of a man who lived in the shadow of his famous father? The story of Isaac, the son of promise, might just surprise you. His was a faith not of loud declarations, but of a deep, unwavering trust that was tested from the moment he was a young man on an altar of sacrifice and proven in the quiet moments of a long life. To even begin to get Isaac, you have to start with the impossible. His very existence was a miracle. His dad, Abraham, was 100 years old, and his mother, Sarah, was 90. They had waited for decades for the child God had promised them, the son who would start a great nation. When that promise was finally delivered, Sarah's first reaction was to laugh. And so, they named their son Isaac, which means he laughs, a constant reminder of both their human doubt and God's incredible faithfulness. Isaac's life didn't start with a choice he made or any strength of his own. It began as the fulfillment of a divine promise, a gift that defied all logic. He was literally born into a story of faith, inheriting a covenant that would shape his entire life. But here's the thing. An inherited faith is one thing. Making it your own is a whole other journey. And Isaac's journey would be tested in the most terrifying way imaginable. The story is one of the most harrowing in all of Scripture. God tests Abraham with a command. Take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there as a burnt offering. Every single word seems designed to make the command even more horrific. This wasn't just any son. He was the son of the promise, the one meant to fulfill all of God's covenants. A lot has been said about Abraham's faith, his willingness to obey, his trust that God could even raise Isaac from the dead. But what about Isaac? The Bible is quiet about what he was thinking, but his actions speak volumes. Jewish tradition suggests Isaac might have been a man of 37, while Abraham was over 100. Other traditions say he was younger, but either way, he was strong enough to carry the wood for his own sacrifice, and definitely strong enough to fight back against his elderly father. And yet, there's no hint of a struggle. For 3 days they walk, the weight of the wood on Isaac's back matched only by the weight of the question in his heart. He finally asks his father, "I see the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" Abraham's reply is just full of pain and faith. God himself will provide the lamb. Try to imagine that scene from Isaac's point of view. The man he trusts most in the world builds an altar. He arranges the wood, and then he ties up his own son and lays him on top of it. In that horrifying moment, Isaac's faith stops being something he inherited. It becomes deeply personal. He submits. He trusts his father, and in doing so, he trusts the God his father serves. His willing submission is a profound act of faith, a quiet foreshadowing of the ultimate sacrifice yet to come. Both Isaac and Jesus, sons of promise, carried the wood for their own sacrifice, obedient to their father's will. At the very last second, an angel of the Lord steps in, and a ram is provided as a substitute. Abraham names that place, "The Lord will provide." This event wasn't just a test of Abraham's faith. It was the fire that forged Isaac's. He learned, in the most personal way possible, that even when facing death, God is faithful. But that dramatic moment on the mountain isn't the whole story. In fact, the real untold story of Isaac is found in the chapters that came next. This is where his faith showed up, not in one terrifying test, but in a lifetime of quiet, consistent choices. His was a patient faith. After the trauma on Mount Moriah, Isaac had to wait again. He waited for a wife. Unlike some of his family members who often took things into their own hands, Isaac trusted his father and God to provide. Then, after marrying Rebekah, they were childless for 20 long years. Think about that. For 2 decades, the son of promise had no son of his own. Did he doubt? Scripture tells us exactly what he did. Isaac prayed to the Lord for his wife because she was barren. He didn't look for a shortcut or repeat his father's mistake with Hagar. He just turned to God and waited. His faith was patient, persistent, and in the end, it was rewarded. His was also a peaceful faith. Later in life, a famine hit the land. God appeared to Isaac and told him plainly, "Do not go down to Egypt. Dwell in the land of which I shall tell you." When heading to the fertile Nile was the most logical thing to do, Isaac obeyed. He stayed, and he prospered so much that the local Philistines got jealous. They started to sabotage him, filling up the wells his father Abraham had dug, which was a direct attack on his ability to survive. How did Isaac respond? He didn't fight. He didn't get even. He just moved on and dug new wells. This happened twice. Each time conflict came, Isaac chose peace, trusting that God would make a way for him. Finally, he dug a well that no one fought him for, and he named it Rehoboth, saying, "For now the Lord has made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land." He gave God the credit, showing a faith that didn't need to fight for its own security. This is the untold part of his story. It's a faith that waits patiently, chooses peace in conflict, and obeys when it makes no sense. Of course, Isaac wasn't perfect. His life had moments of weakness. He repeated his father's mistake, claiming his wife was his sister because he was afraid. And in his old age, he showed favoritism toward his sons, preferring the rugged hunter Esau over the quiet Jacob. This favoritism led to deception and deep division in his family. When it was time to pass on the patriarchal blessing, Isaac fully intended to give it to Esau. But through a scheme cooked up by his wife Rebekah and son Jacob, the blessing went to Jacob instead. When Isaac found out he'd been tricked, the scripture says he trembled violently. In that moment of shock and betrayal, Isaac had a choice. He could have cursed Jacob. He could have tried to take it all back. But he didn't. He recognized a will at work that was greater than his own. He understood that despite his plans and Jacob's deceit, God's sovereign plan was moving forward. By faith, Isaac accepted this, and then gave a separate blessing to Esau, acknowledging that God's purpose would stand no matter what. His faith had matured to the point where he could surrender his own plans to God's. Isaac's life offers a different picture of what faith can look like. It isn't always loud. It isn't always dramatic. Sometimes, the most powerful faith is the one that just quietly endures. Isaac's story is often sandwiched between the larger-than-life figures of his father Abraham and his son Jacob. But his life is the steady, essential bridge that carried God's promise from one generation to the next. His faith was tested by fire on a mountain, but it was proven in the long, quiet years that followed. It was a faith that prayed patiently for 20 years, chose peace over conflict, and ultimately bowed to God's will, even when it went against everything he wanted. Isaac's story reminds us that our walk with God isn't just about those big mountaintop moments. It's about the daily choices to trust, to obey, and to wait for Him in the ordinary and sometimes difficult valleys of life. His legacy isn't one of conquest or big speeches, but of a quiet, enduring trust that shows us the profound strength found in a life of steadfast faith. What does Isaac's story of quiet faith make you think about in your own life? I'd love to read your reflections in the comments below. If this story meant something to you, maybe share it with someone who could use a little encouragement in their own journey. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe for more stories from the figures who shaped history.